Welcome to Digital Dunes episode, Protecting Brands in a Digital Age, powered by Resecurity. Today's conversation takes on special importance as in a world where your brand is everywhere, in ads, on websites, across social media. What happens when it shows up somewhere you never authorized? A fake website, a cloned profile, or even a fraudulent ad targeting your customers. Brand impersonation is no longer a niche cybercrime. It's a business risk with direct impact on trust and reputation. Today, we will uncover what business leaders must know, the cost of doing nothing, and how executives can take proactive steps to defend their brand in the digital age. Joining me today is Ahmad Halabi, a Hall of Fame hacker and a global leader in ethical hacking. He's currently the managing director of Resecurity. Ahmed has helped secure over 200 organizations worldwide, uncovering more than 2,000 vulnerabilities. Together, we will explore how organizations can protect what matters most, their brand and their customers' trust. Welcome, Ahmed.
Thank you, James. Welcome.
Ahmed, tell me, for business leaders, what exactly is brand impersonation? What does it matter? What do we care in today's digital landscape about brand impersonation?
Yep. So, breaking it simply, brand impersonation is when you find your brand logo or website or particular asset relevant to your brand being mimicked or impersonated and presented on the internet from an authority that is not yours. So someone technically creating a website, copy-pasting your content on his own website, putting it similar to your domain name, putting your brand logo, and telling your consumers that, hey, I'm the legitimate website, go buy from me, for example.
Yeah, it reminds me, the other week we had a client actually coming to us with a very similar to what you're saying. They said that they have a mobile payment page where you go and make the payment, and they found out that somebody else has brought up an exact similar page, but the domain name, instead of having an O in the domain, it had a 0.
Yeah.
So it was very hard for people to know that it's not really their brand. So,
exactly. So making it pretty similar to the legitimate domain name, at the same time, putting the same content so the consumer will not recognize the difference between the legitimate one and the fake one.
And why does it matter so much? You know, like, so I guess it's a financial thing mostly that we're worried about, like that client that we're talking about. So we're worried to lose money there. Yes, I guess that's the main thing is the financial.
Well, in the end, hackers aim to benefit their own, ecosystem and themselves by stealing money and conducting fraudulent activities to earn more income, unauthorized income for them. So brand impersonation leading to financial loss of consumers and brand impersonation for companies will lead also to financial loss for themselves because the consumer is phished and it causes a trust issue.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got a combination of the financial loss and actual customer churn at the end of the day because they lose the trust in the business and then they walk away maybe and go to a competitor.
Exactly.
So tell me, over the years, you've seen a lot. You've been in the industry for so many years. You've got so much experience from the world of hacking. So as an ethical hacker, but so being the good guy, but on the bad side,
yeah,
let's say. So actually going and testing and finding out what all these guys are actually doing and how to protect us better. but also now with Resecurity, so you're helping us protect, and you've got the platform to protect. But how has this threat evolved in the recent years? How do you see this threat evolving? And how is it that with this evolvement, customers are still falling for it so easily?
Yeah, and I wanted to point about what you said earlier, that the good thing about being a hacker from the dark side and then working in security is you're able to distinguish between the sophisticated attacks and the evolving threats that are being prepared by criminals, and notifying the end user before it technically hits, because you're preparing them about the real attacks. And because you are already in the criminal underground market, trying to identify recent attacks and precursors of breach incidents and the threats targeting these consumers. Like, you're checking what is being cooked. So with that being said, recent threats relevant to brand impersonation are being prepared because of multiple factors, including artificial intelligence with its, family, like deepfake, automation, and more, which makes it hard for consumers to distinguish between the reality and the fake content. So it's getting harder for consumers and companies to detect that, and it's getting easier for criminals to replicate these contents with the help of the ready tools available on the internet.
Yes, I guess AI is a major change here, when the speed, if you use AI, the speed of creating the attacks, we're trying to use it for defending, I'm sure on your platform you're using it a lot to build the defenses and to identify these fraudulent websites and fraudulent sources, but the hackers, as you say, are using it to speed up their attacks and do it even better. I saw some statistic that there's about 1 million fraudulent websites created every month,
right?
Which shows how much there's value. So there's for the hackers, there's a return over investment to actually go and do it. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many. So obviously, it works, and people are falling for it.
Yeah. Speed is key, and we know this in business. At the same time, speed for criminals is also key, especially if they created unique, evolving techniques that are not being detected yet. So the more they create that is not detected, the more money they make, and the more damage they will, they will create as well.
Yes, and I guess that ability for the simple person that runs a small business to be able to detect that fraudulent website, they need a lot of awareness. We need to bring in the awareness so that people actually know where to look and how to identify, because I guess it's not all about the enterprises. So it's much harder in today's world for the small and medium-sized businesses to recognize.
Exactly. And we will come to the awareness part, because now everyone can be phished. And any business, no matter how much the size of it, can be impersonated, because it's easy nowadays to develop fake account, phishing domains, malicious ads that are being, spreaded. And the problem is, when you spread the ad, even though it's malicious, it's gonna increase its audience because, well, in the eyes of social media, it's legitimate. You're paying for it. It's not for free.
Yes, I saw that approximately 60% of these fraudulent websites associated with brands that we're very familiar with, Microsoft, Amazon, UPS, those things that we're very, very familiar, and we kind of trust that brand because it's been here for so long. So you say, like, who would fake a Microsoft site? But I guess everybody's doing it.
Right.
But you mentioned earlier about that it's not just financial, it's trust. Mm-hmm. How does our trust in in the brand get impacted when somebody goes to a fraudulent website and pays his bill, his utility bill, he pays on the wrong website? What does that do to our brand? How do we get impacted by it?
Yeah. Well, simply because the consumer doesn't know about all these sophisticated malicious activities happening on the internet, and you have majority of people doesn't even know anything about cyber, so they believe that it's the role of the brand itself to protect his own consumers, right? Because me as a consumer, I'm paying money for this service. I want in return the service to protect me and assure that, hey, I'm paying it for the right place and I'm paying it for the right cause, right? So when the consumer gets phished and he realized that he's not paying the right source, then he will definitely blame the legitimate source for not detecting that malicious source or for not awareing customers or, for not taking any action. So definitely it will break trust. And the further problem is when you have higher brands or important businesses where it's not just about consumers, it can be about investors, it can be about partners relation, even with the regulations, country level. So that will damage. And, reputation is not just financial loss, but also it's about a trust factor. And if you lose it, it's not easy to build it again.
Yes, I guess we quite often think about buying online and we think about brand impersonation. We say it's about spending online, but actually it can be a fraudulent LinkedIn account of an executive that suddenly starts communicating and saying things as if he's the executive from the company.
Yeah.
A website that is posting things about themselves, maybe. So it might, as you say, impact investor trust. So yes, I think that concept that we have that's all about buying online isn't always the case, and then the brand comes into play very much.
Right. And you mentioned something super important: the individual. So brand cannot be just a company; it could be a person.
Yeah,
the person can be the brand. So a CEO, an executive, whatever, LinkedIn account, personal account can be impersonated as well. So here's the thing: criminals now are smart, so they know that. Well, maybe you have a brand monitoring for your company, but you may be missing employee monitoring. So they will create a fake account on social media impersonating the CEO, CTO, maybe, retail head. So, and utilize it to phish consumers in the name of individuals versus companies.
It's very, very interesting what you're saying, because we had a case like that somebody opened a LinkedIn account of a CEO of a company and he started building a network. And at some stage, he actually emailed a malicious file to an employee in the company, which thought it's coming from his boss, from the CEO of the company.
Yeah,
but
come on.
He had no idea because, as you say, the company wasn't monitoring fraudulent or fake LinkedIn accounts, and which we use today very much to get some clarity and a background about who's the guy on the other side. So
exactly,
it's very interesting, that element that you're talking about, the individual, especially around the executives, how we need to add them to the line of defense.
Exactly, because they are as important as the brand is. Individuals form companies, and their hard work forms the brand, and the brand gets stronger through individuals. So protecting the brand also requires protecting the people working for it.
So tell me, so on one hand, you're saying that we have a responsibility as the company, as the brand, to protect our executives. But why do people see us as responsible to protect it, to protect the website? If a hacker created a malicious, fraudulent website, why is it our responsibility? At the end of the day, you are an individual. You need to do your due diligence before you go to pay online. Why is it our responsibility?
Yeah, and I have a very good example for this because I've been talking to a group CISO of a bank in this region, and he told me we had a fake website, and we had customers that got phished, and they lost some money. It was impersonating the brand, and they hold us the responsibility. And the head of retail was super mad, blaming the security department.
Yeah.
So the problem is, if you have consumers and they lose money because of a brand impersonation, the brand will be blamed simply because the brand is responsible for defending these type of attacks. Because in the end, the consumer is losing. And now we go back to the basics. So financial loss from consumer will damage the reputation of the brand, or the bank in this case. And the reputation damage will lead to a financial loss from another side of the brand itself. So it's in the advantage and benefit of the brand itself to protect its surrounding. Surrounding is not just from the internal network and the ecosystem within it, but also it's about the external surrounding, anything above your firewall, anything above your network, from employees, executives, to consumers as well.
So you've started talking about like the wider threat landscape, maybe. When we talk to executives today, what are the threats that you see? Because again, you've come from the world of the good attackers, and now you're in the defenders, especially driven by a platform to help automate it and speed things up.
Yeah.
What kind of threats are you seeing today that we need to be focused on, the executives should be focused on?
Yeah. And that's an important question because cybersecurity is evolving day by day. And the attacks that are being utilized before may not work now. Even though the products themselves, like the security products that are being used now, maybe they're not going to work in future. So it needs update all the time. So now hackers know that if I want to target your domain, your main infrastructure, you probably have everything from cybersecurity portfolio embedded there. You have firewalls, you have ADRs, you have antiviruses, you have...
We like buying tools. We like
exactly. Tools. We love buying tools, but we don't know how to utilize them properly and make them work together in a very good ecosystem. So hackers will try to target your parameter surrounding because they know that your core main brand is protected. Okay, well, if I'm not going to target the domain, I'm going to target a staging domain, some staging environment, development, system. Or I'm not going to target you, I'm going to target your supply chain, your third parties. So from my own perspective to executives, I believe that the recent evolved threats are surrounding between the artificial intelligence because it's making the work super easy for criminals and it's saving them time. So you have script kiddies utilizing some AI tools ending up with professional, sophisticated attacks. And you have the third party and supply chain compromises because, well, you know that you're not able to enter this network, but there is this third party having keyboard and access in your network. So compromise this, you pivot there, super easy. And also the third thing is the employees infection that is relevant to the personal related manners and family members. So for example, you have two computers. The first computer is associated with your network of the company. So you cannot download anything as outside your network. You cannot plug in a flash USB and so on. So, but yet you need to work remotely for some reasons, or you're on vacation and your executive called you for emergency and you need to develop some work on your computer. So utilize your personal computer.
Or your kid's computer.
Exactly. So hackers will now understand that, hey, there might be some documents and files relevant to work on the personal computer or kid's computer or some family members. So let's target there. And that's the problem of data leaks, infections, compromises, and everything that is associated with it. So we try to always go back to the basics. and understand how this incident happened. And believe me, most of the incidents, when you just analyze everything back to the basics, you will find very simple technique or issue that hackers utilize, which ended up compromising whole scale of it.
And in most cases, it will be a human error.
Yes.
Because as we say, the technologies are very good. Even if we don't use them to the maximum capability, they're quite good in doing their work. Most of the issues, even when we see, you mentioned the supply chain attacks. So if we're doing security very, very well, but one of our suppliers isn't doing it properly, hackers prefer to go and attack them and to get through them. We've seen a lot of those attacks recently coming in the supply chain.
It's not your fault, but you're going to get the blame.
Yes, because we need these vendors, we need these suppliers, and sometimes we kind of rely on them a bit too much. But coming back to our topic, you mentioned before about the responsibility within of the company within the corporate environment. Do we have a responsibility to protect the brand or to protect our employees also? And these third parties, we just mentioned the third parties. When we look at putting a strategy for brand protection to stop brand impersonation, should we be looking a bit wider out of our environment, out of the corporate world?
Exactly. So that's the key. Before, you've been monitoring everything within your network and your firewall and your environment. Now the world is evolving and changing, so you need to monitor everything above your network as well. So what we call it as an Overwatch program, like you're implementing a drone outside your perimeter, outside your backyard, to look about potential threats coming in that's gonna bypass your door, security, guards, and more. So as you said, you want to look into the surrounding, what I call the 360-degree monitoring. Your brand on internet, social media. You also need to look at your mentionings, not just on the internet from open web, but also could be dark web, could be deep web, could be some criminal underground marketplaces, channels between actors and criminals themselves, and more, because there could be a preparation of attack. And this is definitely, it doesn't fit all companies, but important utilities, critical infrastructures, big brands, yes, they get targeted and they get planned for attacks before some time. So the key is to identify a precursor of a breach or incident or attack before it technically happens.
Yes, there's this concept by Lockheed Martin that is called the chain, the attack chain.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That exactly talks about what you said now, is how do attackers come to execute an attack? And it goes all the way back to the first thing, like in the military, it's about reconnaissance.
Exactly. Reconnaissance is key. This is the first step that all hackers do. And I have a couple way long sheet of projects that I've done. From a very simple leak, I've managed to hack the full infrastructure because of chain of things to exploit. Like you're chaining a couple of vulnerabilities, chaining a couple of leads in order to end up with a big target.
Yeah, so I guess it connects to the concept that even hackers need to have a clear ROI, a return over investment for their attack. So when they go and they do their reconnaissance, they start to understand, is it worthwhile for me to attack this entity or not, before they invest too much money. And this is where they start looking at the brand and trying to understand, okay, is there value in the brand or not before I go to attack it?
Yes.
It's very, very interesting, this reconnaissance stage and the ability to actually elevate it to an attack. And this is what you see usually in your platform, that you see hackers creating domains they look very similar to my domain or something like that, and that's
Yeah.
where
Right.
you know that they're planning something.
Now, the key is to implement counter reconnaissance. Like hackers do recon on your brand and domains and surrounding, you do recon on hackers themselves. You just do recon on the potential targets or potential individuals that targeting you. That's also important. And that's what we mean by an Overwatch program, because you're developing not surveillance, but close reconnaissance and monitoring ecosystem where it's running 24/7 and identifying any potential incident, any potential lead of indication relevant to incident or compromise or infection or impersonation. All these come together.
So when you do this oversight program, normally do companies just say, I want oversight for my brand, or they'll say to you, you know what, these are our vendors. Can you do oversight for my vendors? Because I want to know if somebody's planning to attack them, because they might attack me at the end.
Yeah, right. So typically for the third parties in supply chain, and we see a lot of incidents because of third party breaches where you hold them some sensitive documents based on a specific business you've conducted with them, and they get compromised, your data gets leaked because of this compromise, and your reputation is on stake because audience or people don't know that you're not part of the incident. So yes, third-party monitoring and supply chain monitoring is important to a certain extent, definitely.
When we're talking to business leaders, you know, what steps can they start taking to identify if their brand is under threat? If somebody's starting to do this reconnaissance and thinking about attacking them?
Right, and to utilize human resources for that, it will take too much time. So there are vendors like us who already implemented all of that under a platform that will allow you to monitor your brand and surrounding 24/7 across all the sources available, from internet to dark web to deep web to social media to paste sites and all these sources, and provide you a heads up alert that, hey, your brand is dropped here. There is a fake account putting your logo there. There is someone mentioning your employee name here, or there is a credential leakage in that source. So that's one of the key things, is to implement a monitoring system that is technically automated and working with human intelligence and artificial intelligence, because also human intelligence is a key. Machine cannot do everything, and automation cannot handle the 100% project, because there are places, especially with the real talented and professional cyber criminals, they know there are tools monitoring them, so they're not gonna be fooled and put everything there easily. There may be some peer-to-peer communication and touch and vetted forums where you cannot access as a tool, but you need to show maybe a criminal record or to show some achievements, some data, in order to be invited there. So there where you will need to utilize what we call human intelligence, perform hunt gathering.
So I guess the hackers are also doing this deception. They're doing deception to make sure that the real techniques that they've got and they're building isn't visible, so that when the defenders are coming in, they won't know exactly what's in front of them.
And that's the executive decision, to make sure when they evaluate right products and understand what can be detected, what cannot be detected, and what actions can be taken. Because another value is, if you detect a fake account, yes, what's next, right? So you need to remove it. You need to take it down. So ensure that whomever is monitoring, and once a malicious activity is detected, they should be able to remove it, right? Otherwise, there is no point of just knowing something without taking action. So takedowns over social media, takedowns over open web, takedowns over phishing domains, malicious, fraudulent activities, and even some dark web as well.
Can you elaborate a little bit about the takedowns? What do you mean when you say a takedown?
Yeah, definitely. So when you identify a potential fraudulent domain that is impersonating your brand, you're able to communicate with the registration places of that domain and tell them, hey, this is impersonating my brand. This is the proof. I want it to be down, to be removed from the internet. And there are, sources, companies that can help with that, including us.
It's very interesting what you're saying. And this really is like the move to proactive and reactive, maybe. Because in the past, it used to be that, I always tell people that we put antivirus to protect us from an incident that is already happening.
Yeah.
And then we said, okay, let's push the attack a bit further away. So we said, okay, let's have firewalls.
Yes.
It will push the attacker beyond our network.
Exactly.
Now we're saying we're going further out, even into the dark web and the deep web, by saying we will do this, our own reconnaissance, our own monitoring on our brand to see if somebody is planning an attack on us.
Yeah.
And you're saying in a proactive way,
exactly.
we will also take down those websites, those once he's just starting up to prepare an attack, we will be able to take it down.
So you technically narrow down the fraud rate for your company, especially if you're a bank. You need this. Now, you mentioned something important, that we start with antivirus, that we start with firewall, and we proceed accordingly. Now, the problem is if these were bypassed. So if a hacker developed a malware that was able to bypass your EDR antivirus and also bypass your firewall, you can never know that this computer is compromised or this employee is infected unless you monitor the dark web. Because in the end, they're not going to compromise the computer just to play with it or show fame, but they're going to exfiltrate data, separate these data to something useful, and start selling it on the marketplaces. So now you know what type of my data were being sold and what exactly is being dropped on dark web and categorized as well.
So it's very interesting what you're saying, because you're actually saying in our strategy for defending us, on one hand, monitoring the dark web on those resources gives us the ability to know if somebody's planning an attack, but also to know if he's already executed an attack.
Exactly.
And he's about to do something with it. He's about to sell our data.
Right.
Even without our knowledge, we will know that it's happening.
Yeah. And we have some common scenarios, like specific company, there is a claim of data selling from a threat actor or a cyber criminal dropping something on a dark web forum saying, hey, I have all employees' data, including their salaries, passports, PII, and other sensitive information, or it could be consumers' data, and I'm selling them, for example, for $10,000. The whole company gets panic from all its departments. Pressure, phone calls, incidents, and the whole department is on fire trying to identify how this happened. Now, when you have a monitoring system, first, you detected this on dark web. Second, you're analyzing it back to understand, okay, maybe there is infection, maybe there is third-party incident, maybe there is some attack, a vulnerability could be, or a zero-day on one of our products or web application mobile app. So when you perform this incident response and forensics analysis and threat hunting as well, maybe trying to acquire some samples of this documents, this claim from threat actor, to analyze the trends and to analyze the pattern and understand where exactly we do store this information. So we can check the database, we can check the application, wherever it's stored, and see if there is a potential log or suspicious activity happened there. So when you perform all these angles together, you're able to identify the root cause of the issue that happened in the first place. So that's what we try to help companies with. That's what we aim for. Not just telling you, hey, your data is mentioned there or there is a claim of selling there, but to ensure that is this data correct or false? Is this recent or old? Could be recycled data. Hackers just trying to do another hype, you know? So that's a key. Understanding the root cause of the issues, going back to the basics and see how this issue happened.
And I think that on top of that, it's the speed of responding to this incident. If 3 years ago, we were talking about like 200 days average to know that you've got an attacker in your network, And meanwhile, who knows what he could have done.
Yeah.
Here within, we've now able to reduce it to hours or days
Right.
from the minute we identify something to actually, okay, how do we deal with it?
Yeah. Speed is key because you can at least cover the incident if you detected it and made sure that this data is not correct. So you at least protected your reputation. And that's what matters.
So if we are looking at like the last main thing to make us move from reactive to proactive, what would you tell leaders, this is what you need to do to focus from the move from reactive to proactive?
Well, we don't need attacks to happen in order to start investigation and monitoring. We want to make sure that we're cornering all the threat aspects from each corner and implementing inside-out monitoring system and an Overwatch program that will allow us to monitor any precursor of breach, incident, threat before it technically happens.
Very interesting. Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you for these powerful insights. If there's one clear takeaway from today's discussion, it's this: brand trust is fragile, and protecting it must be a business priority. As cyber threats evolve, leaders must act before that trust is eroded. At ICD Technologies, we encourage executives to take the next step. Schedule a digital risk protection awareness session with our team. It's an opportunity to understand your exposure, the risks to your brand, and the practical actions you can take to protect your reputation. Stay tuned for more episodes of Digital Dunes, where we bring you critical insights to help navigate today's cyber landscape. Until next time, stay secure, stay trusted.